Welcome everyone. Nice to see so many of you. Very welcome to this webinar about challenges in relationships from a PRI perspective. And well, today of course is a very special day because it's Valentine's Day. So well, it's of course nice to talk about relationships today. My name is Tanja Bakels. I'm your host and I'm a psychotherapist and of course a PRI therapist. And I would also like to introduce Doreen to you. Maybe you can say hi, Doreen. People can see you then.
Yeah, good evening. I'm your co-host. I already was in the last 3 webinars, but now I'm visible. And I'm happy to collect all of your questions, and I will bundle them and ask them to Ingeborg in the appropriate moments.
Well, we would like to hear all your questions, so please write them all in the chat during the whole webinar. And Doreen, as she said, she will ask them in the middle and also at the end of the webinar. We'll give a short introduction about PRI and about PRI's perspective of relationship problems and all the challenges we face there. For some, of course, PRI will be totally new, and for others, this will be a nice refresher. And after that, Ingeborg will talk to a couple who did PRI relationship therapy, couples therapy, and they will share with you their experiences and tell how they overcame their problems. What I forgot to tell you is that this webinar is the first time we do it in English. And I'm not a native speaker. I'm a little bit anxious about it. But we also have clients abroad. And we really like it that they have the opportunity to join as well. So that's why it's in English now for the first time. Well, after Ingeborg talked to the couple about their experiences, there's room for questions. Doreen will ask them, and then Ingeborg will work with the same couple about a current issue in their life, so that you really can experience how PRI works, that you can really see it live. And to get a feel with the subject, I would like to share some figures with you. And I'm gonna share my screen so that you can also see it. Yes. So because always when I look at the figures, it's quite shocking. If you look in the Netherlands, 35 to 45% of marriage ends up in divorce. It's quite a lot. In USA, it's even worse, 50%. In Belgium, quite shocking, it's around 70%. I didn't find out why that is, but it's really a lot. And the rest of the figures are about the Netherlands. 20% of the divorces are problematic. In Dutch, we call it vechtscheiding, fighting divorce. And it means that people stay in a fight even though they are divorced or they are in the middle of the divorce. And it takes a lot of time. It costs a lot of money, and let alone if there are children involved. So it's quite a big problem. And more than 300,000 children do not live with both their own parents due to a divorce. So that's quite a lot. And 80% of Dutch children live with their mother afterwards. So that's quite a lot. And of course, that's quite a bad influence to the relationship with the father. And 60 or 76,000 women, 13,000 men are victims of partner violence. So yeah, this shows there's quite a big problem, and that's why we thought it's so important to talk about this topic. Well, I would like Ingeborg is going to introduce PRI to you. And of course, I would like to introduce her to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Ingeborg is a Dutch psychologist and, of course, the founder of PRI. And she wrote already 6 books about PRI. They are translated into 7 languages, and a few of them are even long sellers. And that's quite special nowadays. It is not so much anymore. And it's a little secret, but she's writing her 7th book already. So that's quite nice. And over 20 years ago, she developed PRI, and you could say it's a combination of Eastern philosophy and Western psychotherapy. And of course, it's based on previous work like Alice Miller, Jean Jensen, Janov. And Ingeborg is working now in France and also online as a PRI trainer and PRI therapist for individual therapy and also couples therapy. And that's in the form of an intensive. So Ingeborg, welcome. And maybe you would like to first give us an introduction of PRI and how do we look at the development of relationship problems and the challenges we all face in that.
Hey, is my sound on? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Tanya, for your nice introduction. And very good to see everybody here, all the participants. Very happy to see that there is this interest in PRI. And today is such an important topic. Relationships. I always say that the biggest responsibility that we can take upon us in life is having children, because once you have a child, you cannot, well, some people unfortunately do, but normally that's for the rest of your life. You are connected and responsible in a way for your children. Also, when they are older, there is still a very close contact. So that's the biggest responsibility I think we could take upon us in life. But I also always say the biggest challenge that we can take upon ourselves is to have a relationship. Because if you know how tough it is already to be harmonious in yourself, to feel well in yourself, to be emotionally stable, not being taken by defenses here and defenses there. If you know how hard it is just for yourself, imagine if you have 2 people that both need to work on themselves, that both have their defenses that go in all different directions, and then the interaction of these defenses. Well, you can see that there we have a spicy cocktail for a lot of PRI work. Now, the basic idea of PRI, I think most of you know, it's about the division of our consciousness, and when we are very small and our needs are not met by the people that we are completely dependent on, and we can't move out as children, and we can't fulfill our own needs, we cannot go to the neighbors, and we have no perspective of time. Time is endless for a small child. If our needs don't get met, that is too painful for a small child to really fully feel and realize. So our consciousness splits in 2 parts. One part is where there is no problem, supposedly, and then there's one part where all that really big trauma and small things that we see as adults, oh, it's not so bad to let a baby cry. Well, actually, for a little baby, that is very it's a terrible experience that's, you can say, imprinted in the brain strongly and can have lifelong effects. So all these things that we as small children could not process are stored in another part of our consciousness. So then we have 2 parts where one, there's no problem, everything is fine, and then there's the other part where all that old pain is stored. And then in between these 2 parts, a layer develops, which we call the defense wall, the wall of defenses. And the wall of defenses is super important because it consists of illusions that we tell ourselves every day. And the function of these illusions is actually to keep that old thing down. That's the basic PRI theory. And now it's not really new, but it's like another way to look at this. What I just told you is what I call the red beam and the green beam of perception. And Tanya is putting it on the screen so everybody can see it. Yeah. So now what you see here, you see a profile, right? So this is a head of a person, and you see in the head, there's a big red spot and there's a smaller green spot. And the red spot refers to our subconscious mind, and actually you can see it as our imprints. It's what we learn in the beginning of our life, including in utero. There is so much research done now that proves without a doubt that what we experience even before we are born already is being imprinted in our mind, but that is the subconscious mind. And then during our birth, in the first period after birth, these are really super important times for a small child. And then for the first year, or let's say the first 3 years, the experiences that we have in that time are like a program. It's like a program that tells us two things. This is life. For example, life means you get abandoned for a child who was adopted after birth, or a child that is neglected. You get abandoned, and then the second part of the imprint is, and this is how you survive it. Well, I survive it by, for example, becoming angry at the world. So we have the imprint of all these experiences that were too difficult to process, really, which are imprinted in our subconscious mind, which becomes a program that runs the rest of our life, telling us this is what life is, and this is how I'm going to survive it best. And it's very easy to understand if you compare it with little animals, a little dog or a little cat or a little lion. In the beginning, they will learn from their mother mostly what life is about and how they can survive it. So we humans are also imprinted just like animals. So this imprint, this program, then leads to our perception of the world, because here you see out of the eyes come two beams. One beam is red, and that beam is the direct result of the imprint that we are carrying in our subconscious mind. And it will lead to a perception of the world identical to what we experienced as small children. The only difference is that our perception of the present, of course, we see the people of the present, but what we perceive them doing, or what we think they are out for, or why they're doing things, is a direct reflection of the program in our subconscious mind. Then, on the other side, we see, located in the prefrontal cortex, for those of you that are interested in the neurosciences, this is where the rational brain is located, and the rational brain then leads to a perception in the present of the truth of that moment. So to give you an example, somebody who was raised by parents who were angry a lot, who were fighting a lot, who were screaming a lot, will have an imprint that says life is people get angry all the time. And subsequently, they will perceive that. Let's say 95% of the time. This red beam is no joke. I mean, we are in that almost all the time, as long as we're not aware of it, of course, because once we're aware of it, then luckily, good news, we can do something about it. But this person who grows up like that will then perceive angry people everywhere. Even if they aren't angry, they think, well, this person is angry, or yes, maybe she looks like she's smiling, but I know that she's going to be angry any moment. On the other hand, the truth might be that the person, like I just said, is smiling at you. But if your red beam actually is telling you that this person is angry, what you will perceive is anger. Now you see the subconscious mind, the program from the very beginning of our life, is hugely important in what we perceive and therefore in what we feel and therefore in what we will do, how we will behave. If I see somebody angry, probably I'll behave differently than when I see somebody who's smiling at me. So this red beam is, you could say the boss in our life, and we don't even know it. We think that this person is angry. Can't you see it? Everybody sees it. You know, we have all these ideas that our perception is true, but in fact, our perception is wrong very often. And interestingly enough, I mean, the truth of the moment, when you start to research into this, very often is exactly the opposite of what we have been perceiving through the red beam. Red and green, of course, are complementary colors, and it's not for nothing. If you go deeper into PRI, start working with this perception and what is the truth in the moment, there are steps that we have developed for that. You will see that very often what you perceive from the red beam is opposite of what is true in the present. And that's very good news because in general, unfortunately, most of us have a program, an imprint in our subconscious mind that is not very, let's say, it's not very constructive to living a life of connection, a life of empathy, a life of compassion, a life of kindness, all the qualities, of course, that we would like to develop in our relationships and we would like to develop life in general. So the imprint we have, the red beam we have, often leads to dysfunctional behavior in the present when you look at the way it influences our relationships. So it's a very, it's a great promise and a great potential. Once you can decipher your red beam and actually step out of it and go and live life out of the green beam. And I will see with the demonstration that I will do today with the couple that was so kind to do that for us today. And let's see if we can figure out what their red and their green beam actually are saying. Okay, I think I hope it's very condensed information that I just gave you. There's a lot more to say about it. I'm explaining it in detail in, as Tanya said, the book that I'm writing right now, which I'm very excited about. It's been quite a long time since I've written my last book, so it was more than time to start writing again. And the title, the working title, just to give you a little idea, is See Always Inside. And now that I've explained this green and red beam to you, maybe you can understand, because our perception, what we see, will influence how we feel, will influence our behavior. And where is the perception coming from? It's coming from here. It's coming from inside. What I see outside of me has more to do with what is inside of me than with what is outside of me. So the title for now is See Always Inside. Okay, Tanya, I think for now that's good enough. And if people have questions, I think they can ask them now. Is that the program?
No, not yet. So they can, please write them in the chat, and Doreen is collecting them. So now we're going to talk to Joost and Rut. And they are a couple who experienced couples therapy themselves. And Joost is 34 years old. He is a pilot. Rut is 25 years old, and she's working as a social worker. And they are together for 4 years and living together for 3 years. And they did couples therapy for almost a year. And yeah, we're very happy that they are, they want to share with us their experiences. So Rut and Joost, if you say hi, then we can see you on the screen.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hello there. Okay, Rut and Joost, welcome. Great to see you.
Thank you very much.
I
said thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's great. And I'm so happy that you were willing to talk a little bit about your experience as a couple with PRI, because you have done some PRI couples therapy. And maybe because everybody can see that you're still a young couple. So you have not been together for 30 or 40 years. You were young. You started, of course, loving each other and then confronting the challenges that everybody in relationship has to face. And what could you tell us about what was really going on for you? Can you tell me the major thing that was, playing a part in your life that wasn't nice?
Yeah. Shall I start?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing was for me, it's very easy. I always had relationships of 3 years. I never got past the 3-year mark, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tanya was saying, we're now almost at the 4-year mark, so that's a big win.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. And well, to go more into depth in what was usually the problem, or what was the problem with us as well. From my side, it was usually a lot of irritation. I get annoyed easily. And yeah, you want to tell what yourself said?
Yeah. And for me, it was more a fear of being abandoned. So at one point, Joost would leave for work every week, and every week, a few days before, I would get anxious, and it would get worse when we had a fight or it wasn't going so well, and he would go away from home, then it would get worse. So I would be, I had like anxiety and breathing problems, and that escalated because it empowered the problems. The more scared I got, the more I cried, the more annoyed Joost got. So it empowered it too.
I see. So it really fed into each other.
Yeah.
Because your main fear is of being abandoned, and Joost has a job that asks him to be gone several days at a time, and he stays away at night also. He goes to other places. So it's not like he would be there all the time. So then is when you got really anxious and you had breathing problems. Did you say that, Rut?
I would get like these panic attacks. So when Joost really left, I would sit on the floor and just have panic attacks. Yeah.
Wow, terrible. Okay, and Joost, then you were aware of this, that this happened to Rut when you would go away for work?
No, not really. I never saw the hyperventilation and stuff, but I saw the anxiety before I left. So I saw the tears and the mood changed shortly before I was leaving. So that I noticed that.
Yeah.
I'm not proud to say that annoyed me mostly. You would say you would hope that you feel sorry for your partner, but for me it mostly annoyed me. Like, can't you just be normal once when I go, something like that?
Yeah. Okay, so and then the more annoyed you were, the more anxious she became, and you could say, Joost, at the time to have empathy for her feelings was not a usual thing for you.
Yeah. Yes.
Can I say it like that? I don't know.
Because you feel like that. Yeah. Well, I could have empathy for other things, right? But not in this situation.
Yeah. Okay, not in this situation. Okay, so that is quite difficult because your job asks you to go away often.
Yes.
So
not only my job also includes that I have to work with colleagues and with girls and stuff like that, and like that as well. So it got all kinds of messy.
Yeah. Okay. So well, maybe you wouldn't mind sharing what your profession is, because otherwise people are going to think, what's this guy doing? He's going away, working with girls. He's a lover boy.
Yeah. Well, Tanya told already, but I'm a pilot.
Yeah. Okay.
I have to work for a couple of days each week, and I'll stay at hotels and stuff with colleagues and everything.
Yeah. Okay. So there was the anxiety for you, Rut, in that he would be away, but also that he was then surrounded by stewardesses.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it started when our connection was less, then my anxiety would get higher, because I thought that things that I couldn't give him, he would get from all the nice stewardesses, or everything that was nice about the job, or having fun with colleagues on a nice location with sun and a wine on the terrace, that Joost would get all the nice things there. And the more sad I got, the more annoyed he got with me, and the less he wanted to be with me. So that,
yeah. Okay. So wow, what a terrible, what a difficult combination. And then, so then, what happened for you to say, okay, let's see if we can do something about it?
Yes, I think I started to talk to someone on my own, but soon we noticed that it didn't really work. And we wanted to do something about it together. Yeah.
Okay. Very good decision, because I mean, this doesn't sound like it was really going in the right direction.
Yeah.
So what happened then, please?
Yeah, well, so we went to talk to someone, and it was kind of funny because, in my opinion, I didn't really have a problem, right? So Rut was the problem, and we just had to fix her, and then all the problems would disappear.
Yeah.
Well, spoiler alert, I had some problems as well. Yeah, but it was good to do it like that, because yeah, what can I say about it? It's nice to have to gain insight in each other, like the old pain, the stuff you went through when you were young, and your what you're sensitive about. And when you see it like in a session with a therapist, it gets like in another daylight, so to say. So when we got into depth into Rut, her abandonment issues, so to say.
Yeah.
When you really go into depth, I couldn't be annoyed anymore, right? Because then I hear where it's coming from, and then it's almost impossible to get annoyed at that, right? For me, it sort of felt like a criticism, like I was doing something wrong, but that was my part. Obviously, it wasn't
Yes.
at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So there you learn what your red beam was about. Your red beam was perceiving somebody telling you you're doing it wrong, instead of seeing the reality in which she was actually very sad.
Yes.
And she just was touching on her own red beam, which means in your red beam, obviously there's something like life is abandonment. You know, the people that you love, the people that you want to be with are going to abandon you because they would rather be with other people.
Yeah.
Huh? That's obviously in your imprint, and in your imprint, Joost, is like getting criticism all the time. It's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong. It's not good what you're doing. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yes, that's very correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you see how it works, eh? Because if you cannot see that you're the person, your wife or girlfriend is, you know, the one you love is in so much pain, you cannot see it, because all you're seeing is she's telling me that what I'm doing is wrong. Then of course you get irritated.
Yeah.
That's very understandable. But if you look at it from the present perspective, you, like what you said, yeah, I'm sorry to say that I could not have any empathy for her. I'm just annoyed by her behavior. And then in the therapy, you learned about each other's old pain. So Rut, you also learned about what happened to Joost as a small boy, that he just had this coming towards him, you're wrong, it's not good what you're doing, you're no good, all this criticism.
Yeah, it gave me a lot of insight, because all I could see was a very closed off person who couldn't feel anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, how can you be so rude when I'm so sad? I couldn't understand what was happening with him, or why he would get so annoyed, or yeah, what was, I couldn't see, but in the therapy, I really learned what his red beam was and what was happening with him and what it, what was the symbol and what it meant. And then you can feel more empathy for what he was going through as well.
Yeah, because if you don't know this and you are like so sad and then the other person is just annoyed, it almost feels like, who is this? You know, like what kind of a person would react like that? But then knowing that this little boy that had to really shut down in order to survive in an environment in which there was so much negativity coming towards him, that makes, of course, all the difference. So we don't see the present. We actually see the movie from the past, but it's projected onto the faces of the present. So Joost is seeing his past, but it has your face, and you're seeing your past, and it has Joost's face on it. Actually, that's what's happening. So that's pretty incredible when you see the effects of that and what you can do once you find it out. So how did you manage to overcome this then? Because Joost is still a pilot. You know, he still goes away.
Yeah,
what
well,
happened?
yeah, we started with a session with the two of us together with the therapist, and we agreed to do personal
personal therapies,
therapy, like twice or 3 times, and then have a therapy session with the 3 of us again. So I was working with the therapist for my part to be to work on more standing and be a powerful woman instead of a little girl all the time. And Joost was more working on his part with the therapist. So I think doing both of the individual therapy really helped us to focus on ourselves, because you're tend to focus on the other person in a relationship. You think, oh, all the problem is with him. Like if he would react more empathetic with me, then there wouldn't be a problem.
Exactly.
And you learn to look at yourself. So
yeah, that's how in PRI we do couples therapy. Yeah, both partners have their own therapy, and then every once in a while you have a session together, and then you go on, because exactly as you say, Ruth, we always focus on the other person. So we're always seeing outside. That's why I called this book "See Always Inside," because our eyes look outside. I cannot see my own brain. I can't see inside. So yeah, that's very good. But how is it working now then? Just as the last question before we go on, are you okay now when Joost goes away? How do you feel?
Yeah, sometimes I get a feeling like, oh, he's going away again. But then I know, oh yeah, I know this is with me. And then I look at myself and do a little bit of PRI to see what the symbol is and what is happening. And then I can feel where it touches on, and then I can let it go. And it really helps us, because what you said when we were talking about it, previously we would reconnect every time he went away from work. The connection broke, and when he got back, we had to reconnect again. And what we have now is that the connection is there all the time. So that's a really big difference in our relationship.
Yeah, because it means even when Joost is on the other side of the planet, you still feel connected to him. You still feel the heart connection.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm being abandoned, he's gone, and then, wow. Joost, it must be, and how is it for you?
Yeah, I think Red put it very well. It's nice to stay connected, right? It doesn't mean we have to literally call every day or like every hour, nothing like that. It's just nice to know it's all right. You know what I mean? So exactly like you put it, I can be on the other side of the planet, we could have time difference, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Just, you know, it's all right. and when I come home, it's going to be all right as well. Well, not every time, right? But most of the times.
Yeah. Wow, very nice. And you being annoyed, feeling that you're being criticized, has that been lowered? Do you have that less than before?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's gone, as I'm still pretty sensitive to that stuff, but it doesn't necessarily have to come up. When Rut is be emotional about something, usually it was 100% of the time I felt like, all right, I must have done something wrong, even if that nothing to do with me. Somehow my mind made up has to do something with me. Somehow I messed up.
Yeah.
And especially with this thing about me leaving for work, I know there's nothing I can do about it. And if she does get emotionally, it doesn't really happen anymore as well. So that helps.
Yeah.
So it's better.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll see in our work that we will do in this webinar later where there is still some interaction of those two red beams, because that's obviously what it is. Now, but you can see the present, he's going away to work, but he's not abandoning you. He's staying connected in the heart. And Joost, you can see, well, she's not so emotional anymore. And when she is emotional, you're not getting all this criticism towards you. And if it does come, then you can use PRI to reverse it and come back to the present and just see that Rut is maybe more sensitive, maybe more emotional, more quick to cry. And then you can just be together, connected in that.
Yeah.
Is that a correct summary?
Yes.
More or less?
I concur.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, well, I'll be back with you in a little bit, but I think first now we're going to Doreen for some questions. But thank you so much so far.
You're welcome.
Yes, Ingeborg, that's correct. But first, Joost and Rut, we received compliments for you, for your openness, and people are considering you very brave. So I thought it was nice to mention as a first thing. And Ingeborg, we received a question. So Joost and Rut were in this together, but what can you do when you want to do PRI, but your partner is not into it or does not want that at all? What can you do? Do you have advice on that part?
Yeah, that's a very tough situation. And well, what I used to always say is, and Jean Jensen taught me that, you can only heal yourself. So a lot of people want to heal their partner. Like Joost also said, well, the Rut should just change and then everything is fine. But we can only heal ourselves. So it's always very important to start there. And what happens very often is when your partner can see actually that you are changing, that something in your energy is changing, that you're becoming, less defensive, even though they don't know what the defenses are, but they can see a change, then that could be, that could help them to do it themselves as well.
Okay.
So you can hope for that. And also in the PRI therapy, when you start, there's always a moment where the therapist will ask you to come in with your partner and explain to your partner what is the process and how does it work. And that also can open the eyes of the partner. And of course, another important tip that really helps a lot of people is to watch the online course that I made. Watch that, and you will see that very often the family joins in. The partner will say, oh, what is that? It's easier to watch something instead of a Netflix. Okay, yeah, let's watch this. And then they can be drawn in, invited in. But one thing you should never do is to really say, hey, look, you have to do this with me, because then it becomes too much of an oppressive thing. But of course, be honest about the importance of having a mutual language, understanding each other, what's going on, why are we getting into these recurrent patterns, and how nice would it be if we could live from the heart together instead of being in this, struggle, which often happens in relationships, or living two different lives, which is the other possibility.
Yeah. And is that the same? People also ask, what can you do if you see a lot of defense patterns with your partner? Maybe it's practically the same as what you just said, or do you have something else on that?
I think it is the same of what I just said.
Yeah. Okay.
So always good to work on yourself first. That's always a good step. Because a lot of people are always thinking the problem is with the other. So forget about the other for a little bit, work on yourself, and then come back into what's going on in the present.
Yeah. And can you also tell something about being in love, falling in love without false hope? What does that look like?
Without?
Yeah, without false hope. Is it possible?
That's a trick question.
Yeah.
Because I write about it, in Illusions, I write about falling in love. And in my opinion, I don't think that the chemical explosion that you get when you are in love, I don't think that that will happen if there is no false hope involved. And false hope means the perception that this person now can be unconscious, but that this person now is somehow, you know, this fantastic person that's going to fulfill all your needs. Now that is false hope. And that's always there. But if that is, you know, whether that's the only thing that's there or whether that there is more there, that will show in time.
Okay, so
Yeah.
just accept it. Okay, and then there is a question about, maybe you know about EMDR. Can that also solve your old pain? That's what somebody asks.
Well, well, it depends. You know, EMDR, when it first came out, used to work only with the trauma in the, you know, conscious trauma. So then if you have, for example, as an adult, you know, you're being robbed or raped or something horrible happens to you, then you know that this happened, and then EMDR can help with that kind of trauma. But as I have, you know, shown with the red and the green beam, PRI focuses mostly on unconscious trauma. It's trauma from the very beginning of our life, before we were born, or, you know, the first year, or at the most the first 3 years. Traumas that we don't really remember. And as far as I know, I don't know, at the time I did an EMDR training, they didn't work with that at the time, but maybe that has changed now.
Thank you. We have to continue, so I think you go back to Ruth and Joost to work with them in the moment.
Okay, I'm just going to plug in my my computer because I don't want it to run out of battery during my work with Joost and Ruth. I thought this would not be necessary, obviously. It is. So hang on, I will be back very soon.
Okay, so now Ingeborg will work with Ruth and Joost, and they're going to talk about a current issue that they're facing in their relationship, so that you really can see how PRI works in practice.
Okay, good. Well, tell me, is there a situation in your life that comes back every time in which you get entangled in both in a defense that is tough to get out of?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Let me know.
Well, I have to say it evolved a little bit, but we'll get into that a little bit later on, I think. But I think we can say that the situation is as follows. Ruth wants to talk about something. Doesn't really matter what. It can be a very wide range of subjects. And I don't want to talk about it. Could be anything. And the reason I said it evolved is because now there's a lot of times where Ruth already like filtered a lot of subjects. He doesn't even start talking about them anymore. But sometimes it does still happen because there are some things you have to talk about, and then she'll start a conversation.
Yeah. Okay. And just for my understanding, Joost, the fact that Ruth now doesn't even bring up certain topics anymore, do you both see that as a positive or as a negative development?
I think a negative development. Yeah.
Yeah, and Joost, what do you think about it?
Yeah, me as well. Me as well, because I know it's nice to talk about things that concern you, right, with your partner. So I know how nice it is to be able to talk about stuff with your partner, and I want to be able to provide that as well. So it's a little bit of because I don't have to talk about a lot of stuff I don't want to talk about anymore, so that you could see that as a bit of a positive thing, but in the long term, especially, it's a negative thing for sure.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to know, because you said, yeah, we have this thing, but it has evolved. So that sounded like you thought it would be positive. But I must say, I'm happy to hear that you realize that, you know, maybe in the short run, it makes life easier for you, Joost, but in the long run, it will undermine and sabotage your connection. So that would be a shame. That would really be a shame. Okay, good. So, good. So it starts with you, then you want to talk about something.
Yeah.
Like, can you give me an example, a recent example of something that you wanted to talk about?
Yes. We recently moved to our new house and we discussed about having a housewarming. And I wanted to plan that. I wanted to talk about, how are we going to do that? Are we going to do that with friends or family? And who do we invite for that?
Yeah. Okay, good. So you just say that to Joost in a neutral way, or do you already feel sort of anxious about it, knowing that this could be maybe something he doesn't want to talk about?
No, I think I start neutral, because I think, this is something we both wanted, and let's talk about it.
Yeah. Okay, so there's no anticipation of a problem.
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay, great. So it's just neutral, like, hey, Joost, let's talk about the housewarming. What are we going to do, and who are we going to invite? Yeah. Okay, and then Joost, this was just recently, yeah. So let's look at this specific example. I always like to work with specific examples; it makes it most clear. So then, what did you say to Ruth when she brought that up?
I think I sighed. I think that was my response.
You didn't say anything, you only sighed.
I think so, yeah. Something like that.
Okay. And what did you feel when you heard her question?
Yeah, I immediately feel all my energy being drained. I feel like really tired all of a sudden.
Okay. And emotion, this is physically, you feel really tired? And how do you feel in an emotional sense?
Yeah. I know it looks like I'm annoyed instantly, but I don't think I'm annoyed yet. First, I feel like there's being put a too high of demand on me. Like I have to do something I really can't do.
Okay. Yeah. So if you have to do something that you're not able to do, that's what you feel then. That's what we in PRI call primary defense.
Yes.
Yeah, correct. And it looks annoyed because you sigh, but actually inside you are in primary defense. I can't do this. And it sucks away all your energy.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And your reaction is just that you sigh and you don't say anything. So then I go back to Ruth, because you know, it's also in my book on relationships. I'm making this black box. So this is Joost, this is Ruth, or no, the other way around. It's Ruth, this is Joost, and then what you do. So the behavior and the emotion and which defense is operating. Okay, because when we're in a black box, I call it a black box because it means we're both in the dark. Both people are in a defense, so there's no light. So we want to see what's going on in that black box so that we can put some light in there, and then we can get out of the defenses and hopefully come together. Okay, so Rut, what do you remember that Joost's reaction was to sigh?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And the first thing I think is, he doesn't want to talk about it.
Okay.
And I don't think I say that. But I think I reply in a way to reform what I said, to maybe make it smaller or to make it a little bit different, that it maybe is easier.
Yeah, okay. Okay, but when you just said he doesn't, the first thing is, oh, okay, he doesn't want to talk about it. What do you feel in that moment?
I think I feel, I think a little bit heavy, like, so, not again. Why does it have to be so difficult to talk about this? Yeah.
Yeah, so is it like more irritation towards Joost? Why does it have to be so difficult? Again, we cannot talk about it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you go into, you could say, false power.
Yeah. But I don't think I really...
You don't show it. You don't show it. No. 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 Because what is that? No, I don't show it. Why do you say it like that?
Well, I think I immediately go into false hope. So I want to make it work. I want to make the conversation work. So I try to reframe my question in hope that it maybe goes smoother that time.
Yeah. And you said something important. You said, I try to make it smaller. What I want to talk about this, but then I make it smaller. So how did you make it smaller in this instance?
Because I know a little bit about Joost, and I know that if he decides that it is too much, or that it is
yeah, not why, but how? How did you make it smaller?
I asked who he wanted to invite. So who do you want to invite?
Yeah, and in your idea, that's easier than let's talk about the housewarming.
Yeah.
Huh? It's more concrete. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and what you're feeling is hope. Like, I hope that this question will be okay for him to answer.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so then, Joost, what happens to you when you hear that?
Yeah, well, then I know I can't get away with not saying anything, so I have to say something. I know from experience.
Yeah.
But then I reply like in a really short sentence or small words like, yeah, we can do whatever, just invite whoever.
Yeah. Whatever. I mean, what is that about? Whatever. You don't answer like, let's invite so and so.
No, it's very small. I just want to get her off my back, basically. Like, stop harassing me with these questions.
Yeah. Just leave me alone. That's really what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Huh? So are you then irritated?
It sounds like it, right? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
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 Okay. And what is the feeling then there underneath that false power? I mean, what is the most irritating, annoying about this question that you want to get away from, that you don't really want to answer?
Yeah, I feel like if I'm gonna give a proper answer, she just gonna keeps on coming with another question, another question, another question. It will never stop. That's the big fear I have.
Okay. And if it would never stop, then where does it go?
Where does it go?
What would happen then? It just goes on and on and on, and then what?
Then what? Well, eventually I'm going to give a wrong answer, right? So I can't give the perfect answer every single time. So there's going to be a moment where I'm going to give the wrong answer, which I'm doing anyway with the short ass answer, like get off my back.
Yeah.
And that's going to be annoyed with me or something. Like it's probably the criticism thing again, right?
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Because it's like it sounds almost like it's going on and on and on. And the worst thing about that is that there will be a moment then where you just can't answer anymore. You don't know the answer. She will become angry or tell you that it's not okay, that you're wrong, what you're doing is not good.
Yeah, but it's like that. Like I'm no use at all. Which is funny because I'm no use at all the way I answer, but that's the thing I'm fearing of.
Yeah. Okay, so you are afraid that the questions are going to go somewhere. If you just go along with their answering, that one moment there will be a moment where she will say, well, Joost, you're of no use at all.
Yes.
That it feels like you're unable to just have a constructive conversation about this topic.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to avoid that moment.
Yeah.
Because in your imprint, in your subconscious, that moment when the other person is telling you that you're of no use, of course, for the very small boy that you were, is very threatening.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see immediately it even affects your breath, Joost?
Yeah.
It's big, It's a big thing of how you grew up.
Yeah, I feel it in my body. When you put it like that, when you formulate it that precise, I can feel it in my body. I feel like a little bit emotional as well, right? I feel there's something happening, that's for sure.
Yeah. So then when that happens in your body, then you know that obviously the old pain has been touched, or you could say the imprint in your subconscious has been touched. And how do we survive it? In your imprint, it says, okay, how do you survive it? Is by escaping it.
Yeah.
That's what you do. What I hear is you try to escape. It's interesting that you also became a pilot, because then you can fly away. But you see, Joost, that's what you do. Here, you try not to answer. You try to get her off you try to get out of it, get out of the situation. That's how threatening it has been for the small child you were. Yeah. So your imprint is, you're going to get all this criticism. Life is being criticized, being told you're of no use at all. And how do I survive that? By escaping. Just get out of here, or get the people away from you, or get out yourself. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Just breathe a few times, Joost, because this is exactly, you can feel, like you say, when it is exactly right, then you feel it immediately in the body. So just breathe. Everything's okay now. We all love you, Joost. We're not criticizing you. Nobody's angry. Okay. Wow. Okay. So then, so you, what happens to you? Because you hear that Joost is sort of saying something, but not really. So, and he starts to become a little bit annoyed. So false power. You see false power, I think. what happens to you then? What happened to you in this interaction?
I think practically there happens 3 things. So at first I try to explain why I want to talk about it, because I have a problem with who I want to invite. I'm not sure. So I try to explain that. Then I see that I get no reaction, then I leave it. I just end the conversation and go do something else. And the third thing is, I think that I just go talk about it with other people, just not with Joost anymore.
So like who would you talk, for example, in this instance?
I talked with my mother about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you talk with her about who to invite to your housewarming?
Yeah, because I had a problem with who of my family I want to invite, because the family is a little bit complicated, and yeah.
Yeah, okay, I see. And then how does it feel inside when you do that, Ruth?
Well, I feel a little bit sad with it, that I can't discuss something that is important to me, where I'm bothered with, that I can't talk about it with Joost, that he just gets annoyed by my problems with it.
Yeah, because you start with explaining why you want to talk about it. So there you still have some hope that maybe that explanation would work, huh? But then if there is no reaction, then you just end the conversation?
Yeah.
Do you say something then, or do you just go away?
No, I think I just go away. I just go do something else, because I notice that I don't get a reaction. Yeah,
okay. And then you talk to somebody else, in this case your mother, about the family. Okay, so here we have, actually, you can see in your interaction, the thing that is happening in your relationship is, after some, struggle of defenses, false power, false hope, that you both just go away. Huh? Joost already with false power wants to go away, and then you also think, well, there is no more possibility here to do anything, so then you also go away. So this is very important for both of you to realize that in your relationship, that could be the pitfall, huh? That could be the bottleneck, that if you don't, what you're doing now, keep applying these principles, you could slip into what I call parallel lives, which is very unpleasant for both of you. That's not what you want. But with your both defenses, the combination could give that. See, and you can say there's 3, just a short little explanation, there's 3 sorts of relationships in general. The parallel relationship, where people try in the beginning, but it doesn't really work out. So then they just start living their own life. They both do their own things. Or the fighting relationship, where both are fighting all the time. Or the relationship where one is dominating the other. So the one who is dominating can be very aggressive, but can also be just very withdrawn. And then you have the person underneath who's trying to make contact, either with angry or, in other ways. But these are the sort of 3 models. So with you, what I see in this phase of your life, it's really good to be aware that this, you don't want this. You've said it very clearly, Joost, but the danger is there a little bit. That's why I'm telling you this, because, you said, yeah, it has evolved. So in the short run, that is attractive to you, because that makes you avoid these unpleasant feelings. But you are a very wise young man. You know that in the long run, this is not good for you. Huh? So now to go back to your black box. So, okay, so I see this is the end of the black box. And how do you get back together again? Because you're both sort of now in a denial of need state. You just leave it, I'll solve with somebody else. So you deny what's going on with Joost. Joost, you're happy that she's off your back. So then you're also in a denial of needs. Everything is calm, peaceful again. But then how do you get back to connection? How did it go in this example?
Oh, good question. I don't know.
I think in general, you start with something again. Like, I see that you're annoyed, so I pull back. And then at one point, you make a suggestion or something, you say something again. And then I feel, oh, Joost is okay again. So I make contact again.
Yeah.
I think that's the most common.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's then after half an hour, or is it the next day? How, like in this example, how long did it take?
I think quite quick.
Yeah.
So maybe even in 15 minutes again, it's okay.
Wow. Okay, that's good. 15 minutes. So then Joost says something like, shall we go for a walk?
Yeah,
Huh?
let's have a coffee, or let's make some lunch together, or it could be anything. But we don't discuss this whole event anymore. That's
yeah. And then nobody talks about what just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, it's a very good example of a black box. Huh? So now that we made the analysis, you see the different defenses and how they interact. Now, of course, what is the solution? The solution is to first know this black box. Well, now you know it, exactly which defenses are working how, but then to see the old pain behind it. So in Joost's, on Joost's side, Joost is really, this horrible old thing is coming to him. Like, you're of no use at all. Imagine if you say that to a child, that is very big, huh? And I don't know if they said it literally, but if that's the message, it's like, why am I here? You know, what am I doing here if I'm of no use at all? So that's a huge pain in that imprint. So if you know that, of course, that can already help you. And on the other side, Joost, yeah, the old pain of Rut that is behind here. What is the old pain? Rut, you come to somebody, huh, who then goes away. So it's sort of an abandonment. It touches on your abandonment trauma, I think, right? So that's the step one, is to know that you're both in defenses. Step two is to know which old pain of the partner is being touched, so that then you can look at the other with more compassion. And step three is to tell each other, and that's now what I'm going to ask you to tell the other, what can he say to you, Rut, or what can Rut say to you, Joost, at the moment that you are in your defense, so that you can recognize it and reverse it and come into the present. So with you, Joost, it starts when you sigh already, huh? You sigh, then already you're touched there. Like, oh my God, now what's going to happen now? What now? So what could Rut say to you in that moment for you not to have it solved, but to realize that you're going into this defense, going into your red beam, so that you can reverse that and come out of it? What would help you?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
I know. The first thing came up is like something like take your time or something, because I feel the overwhelm. Like I have to perform right away, something like that, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I think maybe that can help. Like take your time. There's no rush, whatever. Something like that. Take your time. It's okay. Maybe that could be some breathing room. Like, all right, maybe my reaction is a bit big for what she's asking.
And would that help you to realize that this big trauma is being touched and to reverse the defense?
Well, I don't know.
Because that's what you want. Eh? You want to get out of the black box, out of the defense, and to do it by yourself is hard. So therefore, what can my partner do for me so that I can then reverse my defense?
Yeah. Well, what usually helps is if she stays strong, like in any situation, like if she can just. So I overreact, right? In this example, I overreact. If she just stays like strong and say, well, it's nothing too difficult, I'm asking of you, something like that, like really just an easy going comment. Usually that helps me to realize my reaction is a bit big.
And if she would say something to you directly, like, Joost, it's okay, take your time, but could it be that now that old feeling is coming up of, you're of no use at all?
Yeah, usually
be more direct.
I don't take that too well usually.
No?
No.
That wouldn't help? Okay, well then we're not going to do that. But see, you need something not just to make you relax, because then you're escaping. You want something that makes you aware, like, oh shit, here I go again. Yeah. This again is my defense because I was that boy, blah, blah, blah. That's what you want, the awareness to be awoken.
Yeah.
Awakened.
Yeah. So, but like I was just saying, like a comment, like, well, it's not something too difficult I'm asking. That's no good, do you think?
Well, if it helps you to realize you're in a defense and then to reverse the defense, anything is fine. It could be that she just takes your hands, anything. As long as you realize, okay, now I'm in a defense, let's do something about it. Because I know you are able to do that.
Yeah. Because that helps when I get annoyed for something for no reason, when she just, sometimes it doesn't really affect Rut at all. She could say something like, well, maybe act a bit normal now, or something like, almost like a joke. It instantly helped me to realize, all right, this is overreaction.
Okay. And Rut, is it possible for you to do that? Because of course you have your own defenses and feelings. But just to say something like, hey, Joost, isn't this a little bit exaggerated, maybe? With a little smile.
Yeah. Well, it's a quite a big thing that Joost asks of me, because he wants me to reply without a defense.
Exactly.
That's actually what he's saying, and I think that's difficult because if he sides or if I see that it's too much, I instantly see someone who is not capable of being with me. So that's the difficult thing, to not get in a defense straight away.
So maybe we can find a way that first Joost says something to you, and then maybe that will help you to reverse your defense, and then say something to him. Yeah. Maybe we should start with you. Like, what would you like Joost to say to you in which moment?
Yes. Well, I think I would like that if Joost would sign, or if he would not say anything back anymore, that he would say something like, I instantly think about something like, I'm not abandoning you, or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And not because that gives me the feeling of that it now fulfills or something, but that reminds me of, oh, there is a feeling of me that comes up now. That's not, normally I would get in a denial of needs, and then it reminds me of, oh yeah, there's something with me as well.
Maybe it's good to, the time is running a little bit short, but it's good for you guys to talk about this together. And maybe if Joost just, takes your hand or something, looks you in the eye and says, hey, I'm not abandoning you, maybe then you could say something like, hey, I'm not going to tell you that you're of no use at all. Maybe,
Yeah.
Because then you can realize, oh yeah, I was caught in my red beam. Okay, it's not happening. Okay, let's get back into the present. Reverse this defense, false hope with you, Joost, and with you, false power with you, Joost, and false hope with you, Ruud. And then go back into the present and just talk a little bit about the experience, and then maybe solve the present day situation. Would be nice. Okay, well, thank you so much for doing this. I hope this will give you some insights and help you a little bit further. I would say talk a little bit more about it together. What could help? Experiment also with that, because in the situation itself, it could be different than when you're like this, saying, oh, I would like that. But then when it's going on, don't say that to me now. Well, anyway, so yeah, it's work in progress. And do you have any questions about it?
No, I want to thank you for doing this with us.
Yeah, well, very happy to do that with you, Ruud and Joost. And well, I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Good luck. Okay, thanks so much.
Ja, dankjewel. Nou, dan hebben we nog ruimte voor een aantal vragen, Doreen. Sorry,
Yeah.
Dutch.
We switch to Dutch.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes. So again, a lot of thank yous and compliments for you, Ruud and Joost. People find it very, very interesting, and and they learn from it. So Ingeborg, people ask what were the steps you took? How can we solve our own black box? Maybe that is ambitious, but maybe you have some insights on that.
I have a very concrete answer, because in my book, Our Love, Onze Liefde in Dutch, I explain exactly what I did here. I give examples. So you can just look at those examples and apply it immediately yourself.
Okay, great, that's clear. Mm-hmm. And then someone is worried, but if we have solved all these problems and we have a light in our black box, maybe there is no attraction anymore in the relationship. There's a worry. But
people that are used to fighting relationships that I talked about, there's a lot of conflict going on, and very often they can be dysfunctional relationships. I would advise you read chapter, I think 7 of my book on relationships, because I write about what is a dysfunctional relationship and how to recognize it. There is also in these dysfunctional relationships, very often there can be a lot of chemistry going on. So people then are afraid, if we don't have that anymore, then what's going to happen to the attraction, to the sex? Is it going to be just as exciting as before? Well, I think it might be a different kind of attraction, but there will be so much more love between the people instead of, violence, which can be translated into sexual attraction. So I really don't think people should be worried about that at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Tanja, I think this was the last question.
Okay, thank you. And well, we've got 2 special offers for you. First of all, you can do a free intake with a PRI therapist who's a basistherapeut or therapeut in training. And I'll give you the link right now. But also you will receive it tomorrow in an email. So you can also do this tomorrow. And it's very nice, we can offer you a discount of Ingeborg's ebooks. She already told you about the book Our Love, which is about relationships. So this link you will also receive tomorrow in the email, and I also will share it right now with you in the chat. Maybe there are some people here who are professionally interested in PRI. That's of course also possible. And I will also share the link so you can see it at our website. And it will also be in the chat, in the email tomorrow. So, well, this is the end of the webinar. And yeah, thank you for being here, of course, all participants, because without you, there wasn't any webinar. And Rut and Joost, thank you very much. I think it was very special how open you were, and I think it must be an inspiration to a lot of people. So I find it, yeah, very special to see your openness. And Doreen, thank you very much for being the co-host, and of course, Ingeborg, thank you very much for your beautiful insights you shared with us. So you can rewatch this webinar. You will find a link tomorrow in the email, and will also be on YouTube later. And we hope to see you next time, 8th of May, next webinar about parenting. Thank you very much and have a nice evening.